Ladies and gentlemen, my dear friend Gihan Perara!
Let's face it, don't we all want to know what's in the future? Don't we? What if I told you that I recently came face to face with the future in a very unexpected way when I made a journey into my past? I recently went on a holiday to Sri Lanka. It's the country where I was born. But I hadn't been there for more than 30 years. So of course, it's quite an amazing experience. Sometimes I felt inspired. Sometimes I felt crowded. Sometimes I even felt tall. It was great. You know, Sri Lanka is known more for tea than coffee, but really, it's a country of 22 million short blacks. So why am I showing you these pictures? Not because I think you want to see my holiday photos. If you do, I have another slide presentation prepared. But I want to tell you about a conversation that I had on the very last day that I was there. I went with my dad to visit one of his old school friends. That's my dad in the middle of the photo and his friend standing next to him. On the far left is his friend's grandson, Rajiv. Now, Rajiv is in IT. Doesn't mean he works in a call center. He set up a software company with 3 of his friends. It's now floated on the US stock exchange. And what they do is they take satellite photos of shopping center car parks, and they look at the traffic coming in and out. So he can tell a retailer where to build, where to expand, what are the best opening hours, even what products to sell in each season. And they've got clients all around the world. Here in Australia, they work with Target and Woolies. So I reckon, there are a lot of people who will tell you how the internet's changed the world. But I reckon when a bloke in boardies and sandals, working from the bowels of his home office in Colombo, Sri Lanka, can influence what I can buy in my local Woolies, that's when we know the internet has changed the world. Do you agree? It's changed it in 3 key ways. It's fast, it's flat, and it's free. Let's look at free first, because we've kind of all experienced it. You know, what used to cost a lot now costs a lot less. Sometimes it's free. And you know this if you bought a $1 song on iTunes instead of buying the whole CD. Or you bought a $5 ebook on Amazon instead of buying the paperback. And true confession time. Who's walked into a store and tried on some clothes knowing fully well that you're going to go home later and buy them online for half price? Okay, so a few people have, right? And that's why competition's up and profits are down and margins are down. The second thing that's happened with technology is made the world a lot faster. Technology's become faster. There was more computing power in the first digital watch than in the spaceship that landed man on the moon. Just need to check something here. Are there any Gen Ys in the audience? Okay, so first, thank you for still being here. But I also need to tell you what a watch is. It's these mobile devices we used to carry around with us in the 20th century, and you could tell the time, and nothing else. I know. That's such old technology, right? Just like that, 1969. Soon we'll be able to send people to other planets. Who'd like to get in a spaceship and go to another planet? You see? Ooh, more than I thought. Who can think of somebody else who'd like to put on a spaceship and send to another planet? Yeah, right. So I'm the same, right? It's like, bye-bye, Kim Kardashian. That's not very fair, is it? Any of the Kardashians would do. So the technology isn't here yet, but that's not the problem. The problem is the technology is moving too fast. See, here's the whole problem with that whole Kardashians in space scenario. See, in a few years from now, you could get on a spaceship with Kim and Chloe and Courtney and head off to another planet. But before you get there, long before you get there, you'll be overtaken by another spaceship that left Earth years later, but with better technology. So why would you get in this one? You might as well wait. But this one has the same problem. Before it gets there, it gets overtaken by another spaceship and so on. So here's a paradox. It doesn't make sense for any one of them to leave Earth. And yet, until one of them does, nothing happens. And you know the same thing with your own technology. You might have an iPhone 4. You go, maybe I should upgrade to an iPhone 5. But in October, Apple's going to bring out an iPhone 6, so I might wait for that. But maybe Samsung will bring out something that will leapfrog both and have a phone and a tablet combined. So I won't do anything. The pace of technology gets in the way of us making progress. The third thing that's happened is the world is flat. We're all connected now. We've broken down barriers between people and companies and even countries. The internet is the world's biggest superpower. Just look at this map here. Valerie Pires pointed out there are more people living inside that circle than living outside it. Just think about that. 7 billion people on the planet, 3.5 billion of them live inside that circle. China's got 1.3 billion, India 1.2, Indonesia 250 million, Bangladesh 160 million, Sri Lanka, where I was born, 22 million. Same size as Tasmania, same population as all of Australia. And you can see how the power's shifted in the last 200 years. In the 19th century, it came from here, from the muzzle of a musket. In the 20th century, it came from here, driven by the dollar. And now, in the 21st century, it's coming from here. This is true people power, and they're right on our doorstep. And I think we can be excited by it, or we can be scared by it. Me, I'm excited. Never a better time to be alive. So I want to show you how to be more competitive and to build high-performing teams and to future-proof your careers, your teams, and your organizations in this fast, flat, and free world. So here's the key. The key is you need people in your organization who say, I matter. Not in an egocentric, I'm the center of the universe kind of way, but people who can innovate and be innovative. People who can be inspired and who can inspire, and people who are influential. They're the people who are going to drive your organization into the future. You might say we always needed people like that, and I think that's true to some extent, but the internet has changed it. It's made it even more important than ever before. Do you know when the internet was invented? It was 1969, the same year we put a man on the moon. But it changed the world in 2006. See, here's what happened. Before 2006, there was an internet, and there was plenty of information on there, but only a few people could upload information. Most of us could only download it. And then in 2006 came social media with blogs and YouTube and MySpace, and now, of course, Facebook. And suddenly, we all had the power to upload, mostly cat videos, but we had the power to do it. Right? And suddenly, the world changed. We all had choices, we all had voices. What about tomorrow, when we do, everyone has a choice and everyone has a voice? How do you get them to choose you, and how do you get them to hear your voice? Well, the secret to success tomorrow is not power, but influence. It's about not fitting in, but standing out. And that's what's going to make the difference. Yesterday's world was about control, where you don't matter. Today it's about power, where we matter. And tomorrow it's about influence, I matter. And all that old control stuff just doesn't work anymore. Let me give you an example. After yet another tragic school shooting at the start of this year, Barack Obama issued 23 presidential orders to bring an end to gun violence. These are the words that he used, and you can just look at the biggest ones. They're the ones that are most common. Just look at them: law enforcement, and background checks, and health checks, and memorandums. These are all strong words, presidential words, words of control. And they're completely useless against this. This is a 3D printer. So instead of printing on paper, it creates real objects. This one's big. It's about the size of a fridge. But by the end of the year, you'll be able to get one that sits on your desk, costs less than an iPhone. And they're great. You just download a blueprint from the internet, you can print anything. You can create Christmas ornaments, dolls' houses, and guns. Real guns that shoot real bullets. So all the gun control laws in the world won't make a difference when everyone has the power to download a gun at home. The solution to gun control, gun violence, is not control, it's influence. And I'm not talking about presidents and kings, I'm talking about ordinary people. People like Natalie Tran, Australia's most watched YouTube user. Every time she uploads a video to the internet, she gets at least 500,000 views. This one got 21 million. And she's not a big company, she's not an internet marketer, she's just a 27-year-old who lives in Western Sydney in her parents' home and just uploads funny videos. And they're not the flashiest productions either, it's just like looking at everyday situations and she creates humor from them. It's like Seinfeld, but funny. There's no doubt that Natalie Tran's remarkable, but there are just as many remarkable people in your organizations as well. And these are the people who say, I matter. And the good news is that if you want more innovation, you want more inspiration, you want more influence, and you want people to take initiative, you probably already got those people. And if you are one of those people who wants to be more inspirational and inspiring and take initiative, then just ask, just talk. Communicate better. I know it's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? Communicate better. It's so 20th century. But really is an important first step. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a simple idea. Now, I just want to show you how hard communication can be sometimes. So I'm going to show you some examples of what people fill in from car insurance claim forms. So the accident's happened, and all they have to do now is fill in the form. And all they have to do is report the facts. Let me just share a couple of them with you. Just one more, because this one's my favorite. So there's no doubt that communication can be hard. And now we've got communicating across different generations, and that can be even harder. So what I thought I'd do for you today, as a bit of a service to the community, is I'll solve the intergenerational communication problems of the world. So that's kind of good, right? You weren't expecting that when you turned up here this morning. I figured a language that all generations understand is the language of music. So I've written a song. Just one problem. I can't sing. Now, this song works best when it's accompanied by a piano. I have one here. Isn't it great that Qantas now allows you to take pianos into checked baggage? Ooh, that's a bit loud, Mitch. We might be turning that one down a little bit. Thank you. All right, so can you just turn the bass up a bit, Mitch? I actually don't know what that means, but it sounds good. Let me just get the right key. Ooh. Actually. Thank you. That is all I know how to play. All right. So this is for the Gen Ys in the audience. I call it How Old People Think. Of course, old, by the way, just means anyone older than I am. Just 23. All right, so here we go. Newspapers like a blog, but with yesterday's news. And TVs like YouTube that you can't choose. A watch is like an iPhone that can only tell the time. But we all had to have one, even a mime. Yeah, sorry about that. When I was young, cigarettes were filtered and water was not. And cool meant cold, and hot meant, well, hot. And when I used the word random, it meant the result of a non-deterministic stochastic experiment. It wasn't used just randomly. And now you've got your own language as well, with WTF and TMI and OMG and LOL. And just when I think I know what you're trying to say, you hit me with another TLA. It's a 3-letter acronym. Thank you. Thank you. CDs are on sale outside. All the money raised goes to a very good cause, singing lessons. So look, it's very easy to be lighthearted about this, but communication really is the first step. It's not the only thing. Of course, we need to take action as well. When Albert Einstein was teaching at Princeton University, he was criticized one year because he gave the students the same exam 2 years in a row. But he said, the questions are different. So the questions are the same, but the answers are different. Now, obviously, I'm no Einstein, but it doesn't take much to see that the same thing applies now. there are 9 key things that you need to do in your organization to future-proof your careers, your teams, and your organizations. And I reckon if you really want to move from that whole control idea where you don't matter, to then power, where we matter, and then to influence, where I matter, you've got to do things differently. The answers are different. I'm not going to go through all 9 of them for you today, but let me share a couple of them. So anyone going through some change in their lives at the moment? Okay, silly question, right? So the old way of doing it used to be about stand strong, be firm, ride out the storm. Now there are a lot of people who are talking about bouncing back. It doesn't matter how many times you fall over, it only matters how many times you stand up. But the trouble is, even if you do stand up and you're battered and bruised, you're kind of still battered and bruised. So the solution for the future is to be able to be smart and nimble and move with the change. And if possible, lead the change. Now look at leadership. Leadership used to be about managing people like resources, pushing them around like chess pieces. You don't matter except for how much work I can get out of you. Now we've moved on from that, and we have moved on from that, right? Now it's about leaders who are the visionary leaders. Come along with me, team, I'll show you the way. But even that won't work in the future. What we need in the future are leaders who are authorities. Not you have authority, but you are an authority, a trusted authority. We won't follow you because you say you're the leader. We'll follow you because we say you're the leader. So those are just 2 of the 9. Here are the other 7. And each of them has those 3 elements as well. What you did yesterday, what you'll do tomorrow, and what you need to do for the future. If you're a more linear left-brain person like I am, you might prefer it in this format. And as you look at that, you might recognize some of the things that you're doing in your organization. And I need to point out that none of these things are bad. So if you're doing some of those white words in the yesterday column, that's okay. That's okay. I just hope you're not betting your organization's future on it. And you probably are doing many of those things in the yellow column. And that's okay, you'll survive for now. But I reckon if you really want to position your organization for the future, it's time to start thinking about those things on the right-hand side. Now, the irony is not lost on me that I'm saying I matter, you matter, we all matter, and yet we can solve all the problems of this world with these 9 little boxes. I'm not saying that, and there's so many people here in this room today who are in different positions, different size organizations, who are managers, owners, people from different generations. So you'll have to find your own way to make that I matter for yourself. Let me give you a couple of examples. I've done a lot of work with financial advisors recently, and of course they want to be seen as authorities, which is what leadership's about. But for them, compliance is really important. So when you talk about using good judgment with social media, it really is critical to them that it's not an option, it's essential. I know there are a lot of words here on this slide and the previous slide, so what I've done for you is I put them on a card. So please come along afterwards and grab a copy of this card. I'd be happy to give one to you. This is your blueprint for the future. Don't throw it away. So I want to finish up with a piece of music. I'll ask Mitch to help out here. I have 5 questions for you about this music. Does anyone recognize it? What is it? Just called out? Pachelbel's canon. Yeah, it is a canon in D major. Question 2, who composed it? You've kind of answered already, was Johann Pachelbel, a German composer. Question 3 is a little bit harder. When was it written? So I did some research about this. I couldn't get an exact date. It was around 300 years ago. Question 4, what else did Pachelbel write? See, I was surprised when I did my research. He was prolific. He wrote a lot of music. And I reckon if you're a serious music scholar, you probably know some of it. But for most of us, this is all we know. This, 5 minutes. So, we have this German dude. He lived 300 years ago. He wrote a lot of music, most of which is forgotten. And yet every day, he touches the minds and hearts and lives of hundreds, maybe thousands of people around the world. So here's my 5th question for you. How will the world remember you 300 years from now? See, I reckon if you really embrace this idea that I matter, got to decide where you're going to matter. Just in this room, in your workplace, in your homes, or in the wider community? For whom are you going to matter? People at your table, people you work with, your families, maybe the whole world. And for how long will you matter? Today, tomorrow, the rest of your life? Maybe 300 years from now. I matter, you matter, we all matter. Let's get out there and change the world. Thank you.